Bonjour et bienvenue à la leçon pour aujourd'hui. I've just seen a little error because this says week 2, but it is semaine 3 aujourd'hui. So we're still in unit 2, and today, aujourd'hui, you are going to do a dictée à la maison, une dictée. So, for today, we're going to warm up and get ready for La Dictée by doing a gap fill reading. So we're going to do that together as a class. And there's a couple of things I want you to do. You can be following along with the Google form, checking in. That's your participation. It shows me you're attending class today. So you have to have this done by 4:10. And then we'll lead us into that dictée. And I'll explain how that looks today. It's very similar to all the dictées we've done before, but make sure you're paying attention to the video so you do it right. Okay, so today you will be able to write phrases to describe the likes and dislikes of the class. So we're going to look at something that we've done before in class together. Actually, this one is based on not your class necessarily. This one is based on a group 1 class, but a lot of the language is very similar to language that we've been using. Our likes and our dislikes, it's just that there might be some names in there which is specific to a different class, okay? Because with them, they are actually doing the dictate themselves. That's why in here it says you'll be able to dictate. You are not going to dictate. I'm going to dictate to you today. So you will be able to write phrases to describe the likes and dislikes of the class, okay? So you're going to try your best. So let's start. This is going to help warm us up. We're going to, en français, it says lire. Class, what does lire mean? Lire means to read, so I'm going to read the text, lire. And then you can see that there's a lot of gaps in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 gaps. And so in each of those gaps, you're going to either put le, la, les ou l'apostrophe. So this is a little review of what you were learning last week, the grammar point. So I'm going to read it to you first. And then I want you to put the gaps that you think it is on the Google form, okay? So do this along with me. I'm going to change so you can follow along the text. Dans la classe, il y a 3 personnes qui n'aiment pas danser. Madame Hunter adore café noir. 6 personnes aiment manger glace et saveurs les plus populaires sont vanille et fraise. La classe adore vacances. Nous aimons aussi portable. Rylan et Alistair aiment chanter, mais Madame Hunter ne chante pas bien. La majorité de classe aime manger, sauf Johnny. Okay, class, I want you to, in a second, pause the video and keep this on the screen. You can read it over again to yourself, and I want you to put in a Google form what you think for numéro 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so on a Google form, you're putting which of these you think, le, la, les, ou l'apostrophe for each of those. Okay, so pause the video, go ahead and do that, and then come back to the video to continue. Okay, class, so now you've done that, we're going to go through the answers together and see whether you got it right or not. And if you want to adjust it on your Google form, you can, you don't have to. But let's see how many you got right, okay? So I'm going to start again. Actually, I'm going to turn this around because it's super far away from me. Voila. Okay, on you go. Dans la classe, il y a 3 personnes qui n'aiment pas danser. Madame Hunter adore le café noir. You get that one right? Oui? Cool. 6 personnes aiment manger la glace. Et les saveurs les plus populaires sont vanille et fraise. So let's go back to those two. So did you get la glace? Oui? Okay, très bien. And did you get les saveurs? So the big clue that you may have spotted with saveur is there's an S here. So we know that this is a plural word, and les is our plural definite article. So it doesn't matter whether saveur is masculine or feminine because it's plural. And so plural nouns always take les. Always, always. Okay, let's move on to the second paragraph. La classe adore les vacances. Très bien, so we have another les. It's an S. It was one of our new vocab for last week as well. Nous aimons aussi le portable. Le portable. I think in the, you may have put mon. Mon was in the vocabulary last week for my portable. So mon means my. And so it just in this context, it wouldn't make sense in this sentence because it says nous aimons. We like, we also like. So nous aimons aussi. We also like my cell phone. It doesn't really make sense. So we also like cell phones or just the cell phones in general. We just put it in the definite article right there. Okay, on continue. Rylan et Alistair aiment chanter, mais Madame Hunter ne chante pas bien. La majorité de la classe aime manger, sauf Johnny. Okay? So, did you get la? That wasn't one of our words from last week, but it's something that you hear all the time, la classe, and also it was right over here, la classe. So sometimes, even if we haven't specifically studied a word, you've heard it so much, you've seen it so much, that it's almost like gone in. So you may have, without really consciously thinking of it, and that's the best way to learn a language. So how did we do, class? Out of 6, just show me with your fingers, how many did you get? Did you get 6? 5? 4? 3? 2? 1? How many did you get? Okay, so if you got like 4 or 5, 4 or 5 out of, or 6, obviously, out of 6, then I'd say you're pretty good. Your gut instincts are right, you're getting the le, la, le, you're learning it, you've seen a lot of these things before. If you're getting lower than a 4, then you need to go back. Maybe you missed the grammar lesson last week. You didn't do it on le, la, les, ou, l'apostrophe. Maybe you've been missing a lot of the videos. So you need to take that on yourself as homework and stuff to like go back and study. So because you are never going to know just why cafe takes le or la. You're never just going to know that. There's not always like a rule. Well, if it ends in this, then it means that it's masculine. No, it would be nice if it was, but sometimes there are those rules and sometimes there aren't. Because look, la glace ends with an E and le café ends with an E accent. This one is masculine, this one is feminine. So you only know by constantly seeing it, writing it, reading it, hearing it, saying saying it yourself, if you keep saying le café, le café, le café, le café, it'll feel right, it'll sound right, and you'll know it. When we encounter new words, we have to look it up in the dictionary. But until then, you make sure that you're copying it down right and you're paying attention to class, okay? So don't worry if it's still a little bit over your head right now. We're going to keep going with these things. We're going to keep repeating it every day in different ways, whether it's reading or writing or listening. You're going to keep encountering them and a penny will drop, okay? So don't skip out on it and don't give up. Okay, class, nous allons continuer avec la dictée. Oh my goodness, and I still haven't even edited this either. This is not about l'enfance de Madame Hunter. This is les intérêts de la classe. Les intérêts de la classe. Class interests. So, when we do une dictée, you are listening carefully to the French, and it is usually, well, it's always French that you've seen before, that you've read before, that we've talked about before. So les entrées de la classe is a class discussion that we had last week, and you did a few different things with it. Let me see, what did you do with it? We did, oh, that's not the right thing. Okay, we did a class discussion, and then you could review it with the study day, and then we're doing this reading with it, okay? So when we do dictée, you're gonna hear me read a sentence in French. And at your level, it's a short, simple sentence that you've heard before. Usually when we're in class, I read that sentence out 3 times. That's why here we have un, deux, trois. I usually read it out 3 times. The first time you écoutez, you listen. And you don't write, you just listen to the whole sentence. You just can close your eyes, like whatever. Or just stab at your paper. Oh yeah, you're doing this on paper. Okay, so you need pen and paper or pencil, whatever you prefer. Then the second time when I read it, you're going to écouter, which is listen, and write. So the second time you're writing down. And then the third time you're also going to listen. So 3 times of listening, a lot of listening. And vérifier is to verify or to check. So then you're going to read back over and check, and you can write any changes that you need to. You're like, oh, there's café in there. I needed to put the accent in, put the accent on. Okay, and then you're done. And then you're going to move on to the second sentence, third, blah, blah, blah. Aujourd'hui, il y a 6. So today I'm going to read to you 6 sentences. Now, it might seem like a lot, but this is all that we're doing in class today. Okay, there's not going to be anything else you have to do with it. On the screen, you can also see over here, la ponctuation et les accents. I will indicate any punctuation that you need. For today, we're just going to focus on one, which is le point, period, le point. So if you hear me say point, and you look at me do it, point, that means you put a period and that's the end. So punctuation is also important, whether it's accents or other punctuation, okay? But we are not in a classroom, so I'm not going to read it out 3 times. I'm going to read it out 1 time on the video, and it's up to you to pause the video, go back and replay. Rewind it and replay just that part. So if you feel good after listening to it 2 times, you can move on. If you need to listen to that certain sentence 4 times, then you can. But I'd say you should aim to do what we do in the classroom and listen to it 3 times. Okay, so I'm going to read each sentence at a fairly slow pace, and on your paper, so you're listening, you have this video on full screen, you know there's going to be 6 sentences. So you write your first sentence, numéro 1, I'm going to tell you numéro 1, and then you write the sentence as you hear it, pause the video, replay to keep getting that sentence as perfect as you can. But don't really go beyond 3 or 4 times. Okay, just move on. Leave a gap. This is going to be for your corrections. See at the bottom it says check and correct. So you're going to make corrections because nobody's perfect. You might have some perfect sentences, but you might have some, you're probably going to have some errors too. That's okay. So leave a space and then keep going. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And then after we finish with the dictee, the listening part, we're going to go back and we're going to check all those sentences so you're going to see what they look like. Okay? Then I'm going to tell you what to do, how to submit it, and how I want to see evidence of your dictée today. Okay? All right, vous êtes prêts? Ok, on commence avec numéro 1, phrase numéro 1. Madame Hunter adore le café noir. Point. Numéro 2. 6 personnes aiment manger la glace. Point. Numéro 3. La classe adore les vacances. Point. Numéro 4. Nous aimons aussi le portable. Point. Numéro 5. La majorité de la classe numéro 6 aime manger sauf Johnny. Point. Okay, class. So, j'ai fini. The dictée is finished. Like I said, pause, go back as many times as you need to. When you're done, we're going to move on to our corrections. Okay? Okay. So, we are going to put my black sign away. Okay, let's have a red sign. I know this is the color red. I know this is not black, but I lost my black sign. Okay, so on the line below, so say you've written number 1 here, you've got a sentence, you're gonna write right below it your corrections. So you can circle, I would advise using a different color. You can do it in pen if you wrote in pencil, or you can pick a different color, or highlight your errors and then write on the line below your corrections, okay? So I fully expect to see mistakes in your first line. That is okay, no problems. Okay, so the first sentence said, and I'm gonna read this to you. Madame Hunter adore le café noir. Point. Okay, so make sure you have accent, accent aigu. That has to be in the right direction. Make sure you have le café noir. So anything that's not spelled right, say you spelled this without the accent, you're going to circle the whole word and write underneath café. Okay? If everything was, oh, this one over here, you could have written madame. Both are fine. Okay? Don't mind how you wrote that, madame or madam, like that. If you have to do the whole thing because your whole thing is wrong, then you can circle the whole thing and copy the whole thing underneath. That is absolutely fine. Okay? Okay, on you go. Numéro 2. 6 personnes aiment manger la glace. Point. If you wrote the number 6, that is also okay. 6 personnes aiment manger la glace. So paying attention here to this ending, M sounds the same as A-E-M-E without the N-T at the end. But so we don't hear this, so it's kind of hard, but in our writing, that's important because 6 personnes is like saying they. There's more than one person. They like, not I like. Okay. So again, make any corrections. If you need to pause the video as we go for corrections, go ahead. That's okay. Take your time. La classe adore les vacances. Point. Okay, so la, L-A, les, L-E-S, vacances. Très bien. Nous aimons aussi le potable. Point. Nous aimons aussi le potable. Okay, so make sure all of your spelling's right. A-I-M-O-N-S. Nous aimons. Numéro 5. La majorité de la classe. And here there's no point. I didn't say point. And I should have told you this. I forgot that in this dictee that I broke one long sentence down into 2 parts so that it was easier for you to remember, but I don't want you to get caught out. There's no point there. It's not the end of a sentence. The majority of the class, the sentence isn't finished. So check la majorité, accent aigu. Make sure you have an accent there. It's going up in the right place. If you don't, then circle that. You got that whole word wrong. It's spelled wrong. And write it underneath in your corrections. Okay, and then our last sentence, numéro 6. So this is the continuation. La majorité de la classe aime manger sauf Johnny. Point. Don't worry too much if you spelled Johnny wrong. If you spelled it without the H, I'm sure he wouldn't be offended. That I don't mind so much if you spelled Johnny wrong. But let's make sure our French is spelled right. So aime manger sauf, S-A-U-F. That's a pretty new word. We saw it at the beginning of this lesson with the reading on screen, and you saw it last week, but it's pretty new. Anybody remember what sauf means? So sauf means except for. So the majority of the class like eating or like to eat except for Johnny. Like he's not fussed about eating. Interesting. Okay, class, so pause the video as you need to. Make all the corrections that you need to. Make sure you're kind of circling the ones that you got wrong. If it's the whole thing, then that counts as however many words. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be six corrections that you need to make. Punctuation also counts as an error. Yeah, okay. So any corrections that you need to make, even if it's just an accent like this, that counts as 1. Okay, that's important. I'm going to clear everything off. That's important because, let's move on to our last slide, because you're going to finish off that Google form by totaling up all the corrections that you made, and you're going to write that number on a Google form. Now, I don't mind. It's not going to affect your grade, so don't lie. There's no point in lying. There's no point in trying to be like, oh, actually, I only had 2 errors when you had 22. Just tell me you had 22. That's okay. I'm not going to grade you based on your errors, okay? Like I say, it doesn't matter how many errors you get. It matters that you make the corrections. I do not need to see your corrections. I'm going to trust you that you're making those, that you want to learn French and you want to make those improvements and learn from your mistakes. That's the whole point of Dictee, learning from our mistakes. But just so I have an indication of how many mistakes you made, that I want you to tell me on a Google form. And I'm not going to use this against you or in any way, but I think it'll be interesting that you'll see, like, as you do more and more dictates, you won't be making always the same mistakes. You'll make new mistakes with new words that you learn, but not necessarily with the same things, and you'll probably get a little bit better, okay? So that's all that you need to do today. if I do always want to see your dictates, like I would love to see it. The people who are in class with me, I get to look at them, I get to see, they get to tell me like, look at this, I didn't get any errors in these sentences. Isn't that wonderful? Like, you guys are so shocked that you actually can write pretty well. I'm not shocked because I know like how this works, and I know that you are learning French better than you thought you would. So I don't need to see your dictee, but if you feel particularly proud or you want to for any reason, then I would still love to see it. I'm just not making it a requirement that you upload it and send it to me. But if you want to, by all means, snap a picture, email me, send it on a message on PowerSchool. Just say, hey, Madam Hunter, look at my dictee that I did. I would love to see it, and I'll reply you because I'm proud of you. So that's all you need to do for today. Au revoir, merci. I'll see you tomorrow.